Hi, this is Phil, and I'm here to tell you all about the Capes and Lunatics Patreon. Don't miss out on our comic book creator interviews, including our monthly Chichester chats with comic book legend DG Chichester, superhero movie brackets in our search for the worst comic book movie of all time, and many, many more specials, all completely uncensored. Access starts for $3 a month, full video when you pledge $5 a month. Check out the link in our show notes or go to patreon.com/capesandlunatics. Hope to see you there.
This is Luca Perich, and you're listening to the Capes and Lunatics podcast.
Recording has started. Hear those dulcet tunes, my friends? That is the sound of Superconnectivity. I am your host, Charlie, the Professor Esser, and with me, as always, is the man, the myth, the legend, the man a year older and 10 years wiser.
Oh my. Phil me and Perich.
Yes, Philip. Congratulations on coming around the sun once more.
Thank you.
Nothing that you are hearing now would exist without the dedication of this man. So I just want to give him that. I had to butter him up. I started this show 30 minutes late tonight, and he is upset.
No, fine.
Oh, anyway, moving right along, cats and kiddos. We are off. Tristan says hello, and he has a question. Quick.
You like DC, right?
Yes, he likes DC. We know this.
I have a question. What's the difference between Eobard Thawne and Dr. Zoom?
What is the difference between Eobard Thawne and Dr. Zoom?
Well, Eobard Thawne is Professor Zoom the Reverse Flash. They did a Zoom later who was someone else.
Okay, so Dr. Eobard Thawne is Zoom the Reverse, Dr. Zoom the Reverse Flash. They then later, in another rebooted universe, created an actual Dr. Zoom. So that is why there is so much confusion for poor Tristan's brain. You see, he is a young man, and all of DC's continuities are hard for the young mind to grasp.
Yes.
A man who witnessed it, lived it, breathed it, like Philip, he can explain it to you, but for a young child, it is just too much. All right, moving right along. Tonight's episode is dedicated to the return of cinema, Philip.
Yes.
The single greatest film, according to Martin Scorsese. At least that's what it said on April 1st. Morbius! Not Morbius, the Living Vampire, which disappoints me a bit. I'm going to be honest with you, Philip. Just Morbius. It's not the Morbius.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't a DC film. It's not the Morbius. It is simply Morbius. Getting review bombed, though, by people who've seen it. Unlike Moon Knight, scroll up to see our show on that. I'm going to say I enjoyed the film.
Yeah, I mean, I think
this did not deserve to go into the brackets. I'm going to say it.
I guess my expectations were so low that I saw it. I was like, oh, I guess that wasn't too bad because, yeah, I don't know what I was expecting, but I thought it was better than what I expected, which wasn't much.
Well, that's the thing, Philip. Low expectations are the best expectations.
Yeah,
that is what we have learned being Marvel fans in the 70s and 80s.
I guess they did okay considering, they couldn't have Spider-Man and pretty much, like any other like Marvel, main Marvel character.
They got some stuff in here. You can see that they're thinking about something. Okay, so from IMDb, Morbius, 2022, PG-13, 1 hour, 44 minutes. Biochemist Michael Morbius tries to cure himself of a rare blood disease, but he inadvertently infects himself with a form of vampirism instead. Our director this week is Daniel Espinosa. Writers are Matt Sazama and Buck Sharpless. And of course, let's see here, we get our screen and story by Matt Sazama and Burke Sharpless, and they also did the screenplay. So, screen story and screenplay by both of them. Jared Leto is our Michael Morbius. Matt Smith is called Milo throughout the whole thing, but that's not actually his name. It's Lucius. So that's.
Oh yeah, Lucian. Yeah, because I know you said you might miss like what the first couple minutes. Yeah, when he first comes into the hospital, he's like, "Oh, I'm
Yeah.
Lucian," and Morbius keeps calling him Milo. He's like, "I know my name's not Milo, it's Lucian," and he's like, "Oh, you're like the fourth Milo," but
Yeah, which is like actually kind of like, boy, Doc, aren't you just a jerk even as a kid? It's like, are you sure that you're the hero we're supposed to root for? As it turns out, I guess yes.
I mean, saved his life in that hospital in the beginning.
Yeah, well, I mean, what he did was he replaced a fuse with a spring, and
Yes, but I'm saying if no one came around in time to,
well, yeah, but what's funny is that our doctor, what's his name, Dr. Emil Nicholas, played by the great Jared Harris.
You're a genius.
Yes, it's like, no, he put a penny in a fuse box. That is not actually a fix. For those of you who remember fuses, and to be fair, based on the timeline, they might not know fuses. So that he figured out, oh, that's a fuse. I know what it was. Why it actually uses fuses is not a.
I believe it said when they did that flashback, 23 years earlier, something like that. I think that's some years earlier. Yeah,
fuses have not been used since like the 80s. I'll be honest with you.
So they probably didn't use fuses. They probably didn't use fuses.
You had to have an old house to know what a fuse box was, because all the kids I knew growing up all had circuit breakers because they were in the second round of houses built. That's that joy of being in that Gen X right on the edge of the past and the future.
And they never really
to be alive.
And they never really explained. I guess none of these children had parents.
Honestly, that's weird about the whole thing.
Because it's like they seem like if nothing else, you could say, oh, the parents send their children to that hospital because they're sick. But it's like it seems like that doctor made the decision to send Morbius to New York. There was no line about we'll have to talk to the parents or whatever. There was none. It was just like, oh yeah, we're gonna send them to New York.
I mean, I guess one is to imagine that, like all good Disney children, they are properly orphaned. Except it's not a Disney; it's a Sony product. But yeah, so things like that are the reasons why people, that's as we say, as Alfred Hitchcock would call fridge logic. Which is that it's stuff that when you go to the fridge and get a beer, you say, wait a minute. Why were there no other adults aside from this one random old man who cares for sick children? Does anyone know? Have the FBI been notified? Who
didn't seem to age much in 23 years.
Well, that's the advantage of being old when you start.
Yes.
Or maybe he's a vampire too. Ooh. Layers upon layers. Yeah. They could have done some more to age him in 20 years, to be fair. Although I think maybe they put a little more red in his beard at the start and made it a little whiter at the end, I actually feel that was an underutilized character as a mentor and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
I thought Matt Smith is great in this.
Yes.
That man can chew scenery like a proper Doctor Who. That man is just... Nom, 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 nom. Man chews scenery better than the Cookie Monster. And I loved it. It was good. See, that stuff is good. And this is sort of where I think Jared Leto really shines. It's like he's not meant for your, grounded reality-based films.
Yeah, no, you need a drama queen for Morbius, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, and it was. I really think this film excelled in everything it needed to until, much like Fan Four Stick, it comes to the final scene, and they say, "Okay, I get the film's done. Film's done. Go home. Film's done. Go home." It's just final fight, and then okay.
He flies out of the sewer, but then we see what's her face open her eye. Yeah,
which is like, wait, now she's a vampire too. It's
I guess when when she was dying, didn't she like bite his lip or something? It looked like she got like a drop of his blood or something. So I guess that's all.
I wasn't quite sure what they were doing with that, but because I thought that maybe she bit her own lip to make him smell the blood and become more enraged, or to feed her some of her blood.
Yeah, I don't know. So I'm assuming he fed on her, and then she got some of his blood. So
Yeah, so now she's a living vampire too. I really hope they were going to have some method to stabilize the whole living vampire thing, but they apparently did not figure that out.
That's the whole comic book Morbius. That's his whole thing. I mean, although in the comics, way earlier he decided, oh yeah, I'm gonna have to feed on humans. I'll try to find some not so innocent people to feed on.
Although to be fair, it seems like he does just fine on pints of actually donated blood.
True. Yeah.
So it seems like it doesn't have to be a living host.
Oh
And,
yeah. I'm pretty
and
sure.
arguably, he could probably drink cow's blood and be just fine.
Yeah, I don't
Because the
know,
whole
but
point was that these vampires could digest blood, and he's like, well, lots of creatures have blood.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, again, yeah, I think that's what they did in the 90s when he got his own book. I think he kept like a refrigerator of like, he worked in a hospital or something and kept like a refrigerator of blood. So,
yeah, I mean, if Nick Knight can do it, he can do it.
I mean, there's got to be ways to get human blood. I mean, in the beginning, Milo, Lucian, whatever call them. Oh, you need mercenaries? I'll give you a boatload of mercenaries. I mean, that was comic accurate. He did do the whole process on a ship like that, so that was comic accurate.
Yeah. Well, and of course, that's a reference to Dracula.
Yes.
So they do all these great references to classic vampire lore throughout it, which I enjoyed. We do get that Venom existence, so this is the Venom verse.
Yeah.
Now, of course, I was hoping for that Venom cameo because I was actually hoping that like symbiotic tissue would have been effective at like saving him. That would have been just you don't have a Spider-Man, but we have a symbiote.
I mean, yeah, he fakes that one guy out, says he's Venom, and the one cop even says something about that. What happened in San Francisco. Yeah. I mean, unless this was when Venom was on vacation in the MCU.
Yeah. Although, well, no, this is because that's the interesting aspect of this because in our end credit scene we see that somebody crossed over.
That's right.
Because Doctor Strange, he's not good at his job.
Adrian Toomes, the Vulture, yep.
And what's interesting is just this idea that for whatever reason he couldn't make Adrian Toomes, or maybe it's just like, well, Adrian Toomes wasn't in our universe when the Make Everyone Forget About Peter Parker story came through.
Yes.
Which actually means that anyone could have drifted over or back and forth, including a young nephew of a Mr. Glover, could be in that universe now. And interestingly enough, this is what I think is most interesting about that end credit scene, is Adrian Toomes just saying, I think it has something to do with Spider-Man. And nobody says who's Spider-Man. It's like, that I think is interesting. It's just like, because either he wouldn't even mention Spider-Man if he had actually done the research and realized, oh, there's no Spider-Man here.
Yeah. Or it's Andrew Garfield or somebody.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, what I mean is like if this was a universe without a Spider-Man, him mentioning Spider-Man wouldn't make much sense.
Oh yeah. They're gonna have some Spider-Man because the whole point of that is Sony still wants to do their Sinister Six.
Yeah, and it's either gonna be Andrew, or it'll most likely be Andrew. Quite frankly, just because he's the last one. And probably what we're gonna get is a death of Andrew and a birth of Miles.
Maybe, yeah.
In that Sinister Six universe, Andrew Garfield? Yes, Andrew Garfield. He hates Mondays, but he loves his lasagna. Who doesn't love lasagna, Tristan? Anyway.
I didn't say he doesn't love lasagna. I was just wondering how much does he love lasagna.
Not enough to marry it. Okay, moving right along. Yeah, I mean that's the thing about this is I think that Matt Smith does a great job. Although again, it's one of these things where it's like you kind of want to know what Matt Smith does for a living. He's just like randomized. He's just randomly rich, which is great if you can be it.
Yeah. Did they ever say what he did? I don't think they did.
No, because one part of me is thinking, is he a mob boss? Is he a gambler? Like, what does he? Because he has a bodyguard.
They said, or was he like a gambler? Because they said, was he gambling or something?
Yeah, because that's why he says, I got the bodyguard because a Russian didn't like me winning his money. Which also makes me wonder, is he a con artist? What is his game?
He's something. I mean, like I said, he came up with mercenaries like that. So
Exactly. That's the thing. And it's here's the thing. I don't need to question it because you know what? Maybe, quite frankly, maybe that's the whole thing. Is that all of these people's parents were super rich. They're paying the good Dr. Harris to just take care of these kids and say, well, no, the child is broken. Please, please, Dr. Nicholas, please take care of them and don't bother us further. Thank you. It's been a pleasure. It's delightful. It's like if they ever stop dying, then please let us know and they will inherit billions. Or we'll die and they'll just inherit billions. It'll be fine, which is much better than Penguin's parents did. So, yeah, even that.
I mean, that'd be funny. You see the Morbius's parents come back once he becomes famous. They're like, "Oh, hey, son, what's going on?"
Yeah, although to be fair, that he clearly had some horrifying blood disorder. It's possible that their parents all had some lesser version of it, and they all died too.
They all died, yeah, maybe
because they probably had some recessive gene that's just the one recessive gene. It kills you early, but not as badly as if you get both the recessive genes. So, and that's genomics.
And then he tells them to shove their Nobel Prize.
Which doesn't make much sense. I mean, it doesn't make much sense to actually go there.
I know.
To the event. To say, F you and F your prize, man. I'm the rebel. Yeah. Michael Morbius. It's like you could have just politely declined when they call you and say, you have actually won the Nobel Prize, sir. Are you excited about this? Like, well, I don't feel I deserve it. I would rather not receive the Nobel Prize. Please pick someone else.
Yeah, because it seemed like they wanted to make him more heroic. Because, in the comic, it wasn't like, oh, I have to cure myself and everyone else with this condition. It was just, I have this condition, I must cure it.
Yeah, although arguably, if anyone else has the condition, they'll cure it too. But it's one of those things. It's probably a super rare condition. Whereas here we got at least 3 people have it. So, although it's and although it's interesting that it is actually very treatable with blood transfusions.
Mm-hmm.
Which immediately opens up this idea, although obviously it does have that deleterious effect on your limbs and legs, But, people live with that stuff all the time,
Oh, yeah.
That's one of these things where it's like, well, it's good that you found a cure. Everyone wants a cure, but, it seems like, you could have lived a relatively full life not being mad about everything. And clearly Michael Morbius did. He lived a full life. He actually invented artificial blood, saved people's lives.
And when he transformed himself, he had to take that injection, and then didn't he have to? He used some machine, right? Because he knocked out the power in the ship for a while or something. But I guess Milo. We don't see Milo do it, but I guess Milo just injects himself, and hey, it's all good.
Well, he had a nurse do it, then he killed the nurse, and that was the big thing, was the nurse who got killed. Because I actually went to the bathroom at that point, and I came back and said, a nurse got killed. I was worried that it was Dr. Martine, but no.
Oh yeah, we don't. Yeah, I mean, we never see her do it.
Just some random person who got killed,
But it's
someone with a wife and kids, or someone with kids at least.
But I thought Morbius and maybe Martine were the only ones who knew how to do this. But yeah, Milo, I guess, just
no. Apparently, I'm sure there's notes. I mean, that's the thing. It's Milo took notes. He was a proper scientist.
Again, unless I blinked and missed it, I don't think they showed him doing it. So it's
they didn't show him. So we don't know if he got it in the spine like Morbius or whatever. But when Morbius did, there was no machine. He just jammed it in the spine, and it cured him. And just like with the rat. Now I wondered, is that rat a vampire?
Yeah.
And they never show them monitoring the rat for longer term ill effects, which you think might have been important.
Yeah.
Does the rat suddenly start oh wow, this rat really wants to eat all the other rats? That is a side effect we did not anticipate. Maybe we should solve that problem.
Or I mean, maybe no one was monitoring it. The rat dropped dead because they didn't get any blood.
Yeah, or they just killed the rat because, I got to kill the rat so we can dissect it, make sure it's all cured. Yeah, it's all cured now. Yay! No deleterious side effects yet.
Well, that's the other thing. I love how like first Morbius and then Martine later are able to go back to that lab, even though it's like an active crime scene, and just
Yeah.
do whatever.
NYPD, man, they don't care.
Well, I guess.
No, I mean that's just. It's like if the cops were any good in this world, we wouldn't need superheroes.
Yeah, but don't you think there'd be a little more attention on it because he is a famous scientist, and he turned down
And
the
wanted by the police for several murders? Yes, you'd think there'd be more concern. But they're short-staffed, Phil.
damn symbiote.
Well, that's the thing. It's like all this stuff's happening over in California. It's hard to get cops to stay in New York. It's it's such an ordered city. There's like one or two random muggings a year that a person wearing their pajamas can stop. That's if police weren't incompetent, we wouldn't need superheroes, and yet we have so few superheroes. So,
but when he first turns himself into a vampire, on the ship, and the one mercenary comes down against the guy in charge and knocks Martine over. She hits her head, passes out, and he's like flips out. That just reminded me of like Ferrigno Hulk for some reason. I don't know.
Oh yeah, well that's just that. That's the thing. Is like head trauma can either kill you or just gently sedate you.
Yeah,
and it's whatever helps the story. I was watching because Vegas is on the marathon this week and Decades, and there's a story where Dan Tennant falls in love with a lady of the evening, if you will, and she gets pushed, knocks over a table, falls in the pool, immediately dies.
Oh, jeez.
Because she fell in love with him and was leaving the biz, as it were, and the pimp played by one of the Darrens, either the later one, I think that was Dick York or Dick Sargent, but the later Darren killed her, and spoilers, and yeah, that was the plotline of that episode. But in this whole story, it is what it is. She gets knocked out, and she's like really knocked out for like days, apparently.
I know, but no problem.
No problem. She got better, Like I said, it's fridge size. When you're sitting there with your popcorn and your soda, you're not thinking about all of this.
Oh yeah,
and that's okay. You don't have to think about every plot point in the theater. If I were to say one thing I really wish for this is that they had actually thought a little harder about certain ideas.
I was gonna say, if you don't like to think, this was a good movie.
Yeah, well, who likes to think when you go to the movies? I mean, it's a Marvel movie, but it's it's not the most dramatic Marvel movie you're going to see this year.
And
it's not exactly Moon Knight, is what I will say.
And they really didn't explain about, I guess in the comics, I think it's his bones hollow out. That's why he can glide like that or something. They never really explain that.
Yeah, but you know what? No one. What it comes down to is he can fly.
Yeah,
and that's the idea. I get the idea at its core. I mean, you can explain it in more detail, but does that help the story? And to that extent, I'm going to say, they did just the right amount of explanation.
Mm-hmm.
They said, I can do this now. So I can do it because here's the thing. The moment you say his bones are hollow, then immediately you're going to start asking, then how can he punch through steel?
Yeah.
Shouldn't every time he punches something, his bones splinter?
Yeah.
So it's like, you know what? We're just going to roll with it. He's a vampire. He's magic. Science magic, he's a vampire. Kaboom. This is arguably a world with symbiotes and possibly sputtered men. So if you have sputtered men that have proportionate strength of a spider without having an exoskeleton, which is why insects have great strength because their muscles are attached to the outside, not the inside. fun fact about leverage. Thank you, Archimedes.
I mean, they must have somebody because they had restraints that could hold him in prison. Okay, and here's the problem that hit me while I'm still in the theater when Milo, Lucian, whatever, comes to visit him in prison, says he's his lawyer.
Mhm.
So don't they search you? I don't, even if you're the lawyer, don't they search you before you go in to see somebody? So he
Oh,
could
that
just
he has the blood bag.
yeah,
Yeah.
so they just let you walk into prison with bags of blood.
Well, I'm guessing he had it hidden somewhere on him. You can get a false pocket that you can't easily
I
see,
guess.
and if you like pat someone down, you might not feel that because it's liquid.
Yeah, didn't he have like a long coat or something? Okay, I'll give you
It
that
had
one.
long, yeah, and he also had his little flask that he keeps on sipping from. Which
It-
now I wonder if that's filled with blood. It's
exactly. Yeah.
because he's doing it. Who knows? Maybe some vampiric hypnotism is in it. Honestly, here's what I'm going to say. I'm hoping Milo's not dead. I'm hoping that I don't want Martina to be the villain in the next one.
Oh, you think
I
we're
want-
getting the next one?
We're getting something, Phil.
Ah,
Sony has bet their farm on this. They're like, no, we can do our own Marvel universe. We're certain of it. And I was like, tell you what, we're going to give you Vulture. Here you go. You can have Michael Keaton and an amazing suit with a great origin story. All yours.
I mean, Sony had at least
Show me what you can do, Sony.
Sony had at least partial rights to Vulture because Vulture showed up in Homecoming, and that was
Oh, no. And
Yeah.
I mean, arguably they have the whole rights to Vulture,
Yeah.
but, just that whole cross-universal thing, it's like, I mean, they may have just said, well, we're taking Vulture back to our universe, to which I'm sure Marvel said, oh no, how will we survive without the Vulture? Curse you, Sony, for taking the Vulture. Oh no, don't take Craven too. Goodness. The chameleon, you want the chameleon? Oh, we shall not survive this slight. I'm basically saying that Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery, although they're cool, are kind of lame the more you break them down, Like, Sandman is the most amazing supervillain he has. Maybe Hydro Man. Basically, if his villain can turn into something that is supremely powerful and can control every molecule in the body, those are pretty impressive villains.
Dr. Otto Octavius.
Dr. Otto Octavius is a great villain, I'm not going to lie. But at the end of the day, he's just a smart guy with robot arms.
I'm not saying they're all the best, Charlie, but I mean, sometimes he fights 6 of them at once.
Well, yeah, that's literally what they do. I mean, Otto Octavius is an amazing character. You know that. He's the smartest man in the universe. Clearly, he said so. Although, actually, what I will always tell you is that what's great about Otto is that he does know he is specialized.
Mm-hmm.
He will, he says, that's why he admires Reed Richards. Reed Richards said he knew that Otto knew more about radiation than Reed. And it's like, which is kind of weird since Reed is like all about radiation and dealing with cosmic rays and stuff like that. So you'd think that maybe Reed would know a bit more, but it's like, you know what? Reed is also a polymath, so he's doing lots of things at once. Good old Otto, he is focused. So,
oh yeah,
and especially in that radiation human interaction hybrid model, because he's all about how do we make ourselves better.
Well, that's what I said. Most of those guys in the Marvel universe seem to be specialized. Reed Richards seemed to be a jack of all trades.
Mm-hmm. By the way, getting back to comics real quick, big prediction since we mentioned Dr. Otto Octavius. What do you think the odds are that, because I know they decided to make Ben Reilly a villain called something, I don't know. Chasm, yeah. What do you want to bet that Maria Marconi shows up with the old Otto tapes? Says, here's all your old memories, you idiot.
Ooh.
Otto has them. You're just going to have some Otto ones on top of it. And Ben Reilly's going to be like, wait, I'm Ben Reilly, Otto Octavius, and Peter Parker? It's like, well, you're you, dude. Just grow a set and just be a better person.
There you go.
Oy Gavolt. It's like, Chasm. I don't know, because they made them all venomy for some reason.
I know. Because of that Beyond crud, he got stuck in.
Yeah, you got Beyonder all over you. Just,
But I was gonna say we're gonna see what Otto's up to because I guess Devil's Reign 6 comes out this week, so this coming week. So
let's hope he just says, you know what, let me just upgrade. Just calls Maria's. Do you have any of my old tapes? Yeah, just could you bring them? Look, I know we're having an outs, but honestly, I'm sick of dealing with everyone. I want to just sort of start fresh. Get Ms. Marconi in here.
But yeah, I mean, I see what you were saying about in this movie, the doctor's potential is wasted. 'Cause, he's there in the beginning, he's with Milo a little bit, and then he just gets like killed off at the end by Milo.
Well, maybe he's now going to be a vampire too.
Oh.
That's the thing, like not for nothing, for whatever it takes, like we don't know what's going to happen. Since they had the one lady open her eyes, people were shooting at Morbius, people were shooting at Milo. The idea that any of these people might have gotten one drop of their blood in their system,
Ooh.
anything's
I don't
possible,
know,
my friend.
We see Morbius doing some Matrix style, dodging out of the way of
Oh,
bullets.
yeah. But when Morbius and Milo fight,
Ooh.
that's where all that blood gets spilled. All of a sudden, everybody's a vampire. That news guy could be the next vampire. Like, you killed me, and I was selling newspapers. I was informing the people, you big joke.
And again, those two cops, they wasted their potential. Could
Yeah,
have done more with them. But
poor Madrigal.
But again, it was only like an hour and 45-minute movie. I mean, at least they didn't drag it out to 2 hours or more. They knew again, like with Venom 2, they knew what they had. They were like, get in, get out, boom.
Yeah. Well, and that's what you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
You need to get in, get out, and do what you can. And it would have been better if they had maybe planned a little more ahead, I guess, is what I would say.
Well, I don't know if especially like those end credit scenes, they might have changed some of those around because I mean, this was what like the 6th different date. I mean, they kept rescheduling this movie. This movie was originally supposed to come out in 2020. So,
well, it makes you wonder if there's more. Like, if we ever get like that director's, if it had come out on time cut, because that's the thing is like if it comes out, because this was originally supposed to be before No Way Home, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's like all of the Vulture stuff wouldn't have made any sense pre No Way Home, and it's almost like they just like intentionally decided to put Vulture in there because, well, if we're after No Way Home, then here's other toys we can play with.
Yeah, I mean, like I said originally, I think it was way earlier, but at some point, unless they pulled a Venom with him and threw him in the MCU for 2 seconds or something.
Well, but the idea is just. I get the feeling they had a lot more they could have done, but because of delays and restructures and what else was happening in the Marvel universe, and I think that's really what it comes into. Where we might have gotten a Venom piece, we might have gotten something to say this is actually the Tobey Maguire universe, or this is actually the Andrew Garfield universe, or that this is it. This is what we're building out. Maybe we would have gotten those Spider-Man references in this. We got Daily Bugle references. So clearly there was an intention to connect this to the Venomverse. Even the I am Venom line in there, which did make it into this film, if I recall correctly.
Wait, what?
Did he say I am Venom when he...
Yeah. When he goes to take that lab from those counterfeiters, he's like, I am Venom. And he's like...
Yeah. Though he doesn't do what he did in the trailer, which is say, "No, I'm just kidding, Michael Morbius."
Yeah, but if you're on the run, do you really want us to give him your real name?
Well, exactly. And he was also trying to literally intimidate these thugs after he broke all the bones in this guy's hand.
Yeah.
Although it's cool, and again, it's this interesting thing where it's like, you just have to wrap that, and like it'll heal just fine. You just have to, put it back into place, and it'll heal okay. Bones or hand bones and toe bones are actually pretty resilient, as it turns out. And in fact, actually, because they move so much, people say that there's actually really no way. It's like either they're easy to fix or it's impossible to fix because you just move them all the time. So if you break it, the best it can do is just like try to hold it still and line it up and just like
Oh, yeah.
let the bone grow itself back, Craziness. Okay. I don't know. I get, I saw a thing where they said, Morbius gets a C plus. I'm like, well, that's good.
Better than I thought.
Yeah, that's that is almost a B. That is a passing grade.
Yeah.
You get your diploma for that. You get a C plus from Harvard. Guess what? You're a Harvard graduate. That's the thing. It's like, he graduated, and that's fine, and he's making his money back. He's almost at he is surpassed budget. With marketing, you have to figure a little bit more, but he's on track to meet marketing, so he actually might turn a profit. And that is a good thing. So I'm not convinced we've seen the last of Jared Leto's Morbius. I think we might get a better Morbius in the next round. And if Sony decides to, sell everything back to Marvel or what have you, I think Jared Leto as Morbius might be just fine. That's my opinion. What's yours?
Yeah, I feel about the same. No, I was trying to look for the box office. I'm assuming this is domestic. It's saying it might do like 39-40 million opening weekend. So
yeah, it topped the opening weekend.
Oh yeah, I don't think
from what I read earlier. Yeah, and when you go international, it's like almost 70 million, and it like costs 75 million to make. So it's on track to make its money back. If it's made almost the budget in its first weekend, it'll probably not lose money for Sony. And it builds out some lore, which they can address later as they need to.
Oh yeah, I think it's it's not a complete bomb. It's like it'll do okay.
Yeah, and you can have a lost leader if you're building a universe.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what the Incredible Hulk was. It was a lost leader on building a universe. When they didn't shy away from it after it happened, they said, no, there's still a Hulk. Going to recast it. Maybe we'll get somebody else's Morbius or Matt Smith next round, But because Edward Norton is a bit of a diva. That's why they recast the Hulk. I mean, I'm going to call it shelter half an entrenching tool. I love Edward Norton as an actor. He's a brilliant actor, but I guess he can be difficult on set, Not everybody likes being on set when people are trying to make you happy, which is, that's a real thing, It's like, you can try to make people happy on set, and some people respond to that and be happy, and some people get mad about it and just get more miserable. So
yeah. I was thinking, 40 million is not too bad considering it's like, it's not an MCU movie. Morbius isn't really a household name for this movie. So, 40 million is not bad.
Yeah, honestly, I honestly believe if they had called him the Living Vampire, it would have made more.
Yeah, just because vampire lovers. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and for what it's worth, that is one of the things. That's one of the things with the other doctor that would have been nice is like she's like, no, man, I'm totally into vampires. I really, I think Dracula's sexy. I've said it. And that's the thing. It's like, Dracula being sexy, that's a real feel, Phil. That's a real feel, Phil. People think Dracula's sexy. People think what's his name? Edward from the glowy thing is sexy.
Twilight, yeah.
And, this is one thing I'll say. This is my most controversial statement I'm going to say. Morbius was better at telling the story they were trying to tell than the Batman was at telling the story that the Batman was trying to tell.
Oh.
The Batman is a long, meandering story that tells a good story. I'm not saying it's a bad story. I'm just saying they took long enough to tell it.
Well, they threw enough characters in there too. So
yeah, and again, and made bad choices all around. Quite frankly, we don't need to see the Riddler orgasm. Nobody. Frank Gorshin in his bodysuit never once needed an orgasm.
Whoa.
You know, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, you saw the Batman, and it's, I'm not going to get into sex sounds with you, Tristan. That's not the time right now. But
I don't remember an orgasm.
well, when you're older, you'll understand those scenes a bit better. Every scene with the Riddler where he gets very breathy. Yes, those scenes.
Ooh.
Yeah, well, that's the thing about being crazy, is that you again, and for what it's worth, I'll give them that they totally got that. Yeah, that's totally serial killers. It's a sex thing. Okay, Philip. I don't know how much longer you want to go, but
I'm good whenever.
okay, man, because I can talk more, because we got Picard. Quick recap of Picard. Gary Seven had a baby, and she looks like a Romulan or a Vulcan or whatever the heck she was, which implies that Gary Seven's baby went on to have Romulan babies. So, yay. I don't know. I'm just going to say I like the idea. And I like them bringing back the idea that, it's like, dude, here's my biggest thing. I want the end of this to be Cisco coming in as the emissary and just punch Q. I told you not to mess with my people, Q. For real now.
I don't know if anyone can punch Q at this point. I mean, his powers aren't working, so he's using psychiatry.
Well, I mean, although I actually think, and this is my big fan theory, he's actually trying to keep humanity on track.
Maybe. Because
the reality is that humanity got off track because this person went up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like Gary Seven, where the whole point was Gary Seven had to sabotage the launch, because in sabotaging the launch, he postponed World War III.
Yeah.
And that was what had to happen. But because there's so few records, no one knows really what happens. They just, there was a launch, and this was technology, and this is what happened. But, and so, Picard knows his great, whatever the F, did something at some point. She'll still do something at some point.
Mm-hmm.
But Q is like, she needs to not do that, because that is what causes everything to happen. You idiots. Because you don't know how fragile time is. And that's sort of Q's thing, is like, when you're a being that exists across the timeline, you also then hit these problems of existing across the timeline. When you're a fourth dimensional being, suddenly everything you do starts to have problems within the fourth dimension. It's like, oh, goodness. Now the whales will have no one to talk to. No one. And they'll destroy the Earth, except that, obviously, in this universe,
Can't they just talk to each other?
Kirk killed them. And they just, why don't we just blow them out of the sky with nuclear missiles?
They just talk to other whales?
Yeah, well, you'd imagine so. Or someone just figured out that it was a whale song and then sent back, "We're fine, go away." Okay, we just want to make sure you're fine. We're fine, go away. It's like, okay, thank you. Geez, whales got so rude in the ensuing 2,000 years since we've been here last. Anyways, Philip, so that's Picard. I like it. I like they had the guy with the red hair come back. He's doing his job, man.
From 4, Star Trek 4.
Yeah, and of course, as people went out, actually, that was, it's like it created a lot of it created a lot of continuity issues for those who care about that sort of thing, which is surprisingly not everyone, Phil. Which I think brings us back to Morbius, which is that not everyone gives no one gives a vampire about whether or not this is in continuity. They want to see a fun scene. That reminds me of a thing I saw. And what the director says, well, actually, in this universe, obviously, they didn't go back, and yada, yada, yada. And so this reminded this guy, gave this guy deja vu. And he's like, I feel weird about this, and I don't want to cause trouble. Because for what it's worth, in this universe, this is now a fascist state. And you know what? I think you get shot for causing trouble on the bus. So maybe he's like, you know what? I'm not even going to mess with it.
Wasn't this before the timeline diverges, though?
No, that's the... No, people just don't even understand. Okay. The timeline diverges in the future. But because the timeline diverges in the future, it still affects the past. It's Back to the Future rules. So if you change the future, you do affect the past, that there is a lead time on the past. So what happens is that guy has a fading photograph image in his mind of the last time something like this happened, and it ended poorly. So that's the idea. So like when Marty McFly sees that image on his picture fading, you note that it fades from the oldest child to the next oldest, to Marty. Because what's happening is time is rewriting itself backwards. Which means that as time is rewritten itself, the 24th or 5th century, well, I don't know when Picard takes place. Yeah, that century has already been rewritten, but the century before that, the 23rd century, hasn't fully been rewritten yet, and therefore it still has some influence on the past. So this guy has a vague memory of something, because he probably doesn't even have that much memory of Spock,
Yeah, I was gonna say you're right. I didn't think of that. Yeah, because the 23rd century would have been affected. Yeah.
Exactly. There's a speed of time that occurs, which I love. Back to the Future rules of time travel. It's the best rules, which is why and it works both ways. Which is why, what's his name? Biff could go back to the past, change the past, return to the future, and still exist, but then fade out of existence because his existence had ceased to be. It's brilliant. Honestly, for time travel dynamics, Back to the Future, chef's kiss. If that is your nerd function, and you really watch it, Back to the Future is the best. Okay, moving right along, Phil. There's two comic books we didn't talk about last week. We talked a little bit about Ben Reilly this week. I don't know if you want to talk about it. We didn't talk about Smashed or not, but
Hulk, yeah.
Hulk fights a spider monster.
Peter Parker.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't think we need to talk about it, so I'm gonna say, unless you have something pressing to say, we can call it a day.
No, that's good. That's fine with me.
That's good, man. Morbius, C+, B- if you want to be generous. It's got good acting, tight story, limited wasted stuff, more Matt Smith. That's all I can say is more Matt Smith, which I think can be said about any film. Final thoughts, Phil?
Yeah, no, I mean it's average. It's a C. Again, it's like it's not bad. I mean, if you run into it or you're that curious, I'd say go see it. But I mean, there's not like a burning need that you have to go see this movie.
Yeah, no. Anything that comes after, even if it's good, they'll walk you through who everyone is.
Yeah.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've enjoyed our podcast. If you did not enjoy this podcast, or even if you did, you can write to us at CapesandLunatics@gmail.com. You can call us at 614-382-2737. That's 614-38-CAPES. Leave us a message and let us know how we did or did not screw this all up. And, of course, you can always go to Linktree, linktr.ee/CapesandLunatics, and let us know if you'd like to give us money, because that's where you find our Patreon. It's also where you find all of our amazing merch, like this amazing aluminium mug. Keeps drinks cold all night. As well as many t-shirts, which I'm not wearing today because I'm wearing my vampire-related shirt. And many other items in all sizes. And Phil, I think I already took your contact information. But do you have anything to say before we call it a night?
Yeah, no, good. Yeah, just you can find on Linktree. Yeah, find all the social medias. For all the shows we do. The
We
YouTube
do
channel,
many.
Patreon. Yeah, so yeah.
And how much does it cost?
What?
To participate in our Patreon?
Oh, well, I mean, you can contribute as little as $1, but $3 to $5 gets you all the exclusive content on the Patreon. So
exclusive.
Mm-hmm.
Who does not want exclusivity? I do. And of course, you can always write to me directly. Contact me in that old-fashioned email way where our mothers and fathers once did it. Superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, at gmail.com. And follow me on the Twitter as I live tweet things. I'll get back to Naomi. I'll get back to Stargirl. I'll get back to all these DC shows that both raise me up and let me down. At Charlie Esser. That's CharlieEsser. Look for the 2 E's in the middle.
For quality. Bing!
Thank you, Maz. And listen to me and Maz on Full Stream Ahead. We're talking all sorts of things, and now Moon Knight. And eventually, Boys Diabolical.
Ooh.
All right, Philip, I think that's the show.
Yes, sir.
Give us some outro music. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for connecting with us. Please come back again next week and super connect with us again. Good night.
Good night.
I like our theme song. It has a very Doctor Who vibe.
Speaking of Matt Smith.
Speaking of Matt Smith. S for Smith.
You gave me my name.
That is weird that like 30
I know.
years later, he's still like, okay, Milo. It's like, you gave me that as like a very diminutive joke. And it's actually really, really mean that you still call me Milo. And it actually